Let's bring in CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, good to see you. Let's start with this apparent about-face from Donald Trump, who is now indicating that a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia is preferable to a ceasefire deal, very different from what he was indicating heading into the meeting. Your take on that?
Yeah, that's actually something new. And we thought going into this meeting that this would be an incremental approach that not only the president would take, but that also we saw was supported by both European leaders as well as Ukrainian President Zelenskyy, that they wanted to see an actual ceasefire with some guarantees within that ceasefire that would eventually move to a much larger framework of a peace agreement between the two countries. Donald Trump now seems to have aborted that and believes that a peace agreement is the best way to go. But again, we still don't know what are some of the tangible agreements or what the actual progress is that came out of the meeting that took place yesterday. One thing that I think hasn't gotten enough attention is there was expected to be a one-on-one that took place between the two principals and then a much larger meeting between their respective staffs. And of course, that did not happen. So it begs the question, what exactly took place and what is Donald Trump prepared to do to actually move this process forward? I suspect we will hear more when he meets with President Zelenskyy on Monday, but not just in terms of what the meeting will actually entail. How, in fact, will Donald Trump actually respond to President Zelenskyy, which I think is something many people will be watching, particularly given we saw the very warm welcome and treatment that Vladimir Putin received yesterday in Alaska.
Right. And with Trump and Zelenskyy set to meet Monday, can we expect any real progress to be made there after what we saw coming out of the Alaska meeting?
You know, we are seeing that President Zelenskyy is being very aggressive, and we know that tends to, I think, grate on President Trump. But of course, we're talking about someone who is fighting for his country, and so that's to be expected. It's unclear what or how President Trump will respond when he meets with Zelenskyy on Monday. We do know that Zelenskyy is certainly placing a lot of faith not only in Donald Trump, but also in the United States. And I think one of the reasons for that is because we're actually seeing Donald Trump's base, his MAGA base, is actually now moving actually more in the direction of more support, not less, to Ukraine. Now, of course, that's something very different from what we're even seeing from Donald Trump's own vice president, J.D. Vance, who has been very much a hardline and has a hardline stance on no support whatsoever for Ukraine unless that support comes from all of Europe, which, of course, would entail the purchase of military aid for Ukraine.
That is our time, Eric. Thank you very much, as always.
Thank you.
That is CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham.